Just got done editing this interview. You guys are going to love it. Before I do that, though, I want you to know that I'm going to be in the comments for the next 30 minutes or so answering your questions. If there's additional questions you want me to ask the CEO next time I interview them, leave them below. Or if you're just loving the data points I get CEOs to share, click the thumbs up button below. That's your way of telling me you're loving this stuff, and I'll get you more of it. Additionally, again, I'll be in the comments answering any questions you have. All right, for 30 minutes. Enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Matthew Hager. He is the founder of a company called Clutch. Began writing code at the age of 8, and at 20, he started a company called Poetic, one of Houston's leading technology agencies. Now, as CEO of Clutch, he's working towards his lifelong passion of making building software faster and easier than ever before. When he's offline, get this, he spends time with his wife of 11 years, 4 kids, 17 chickens. Matthew, what are you on? 17 chickens and 2 dogs. Amazing. Matthew, you ready to take us to the top?
I am. Let's do this.
Have you taught the chickens to write code? That's the question.
We haven't attempted that yet, but I don't know. They're not the smartest creatures. I'm not going to be able to do it.
All right. So set the context here for us. Is this an agency that helps people launch an MVP, like a code MVP quick, or are you actually building a SaaS platform yourself?
So we're building a SaaS platform, but it started in the agency. And so I think this is a great case of building a solution for a definite need.
Okay, so tell us how you use this tell me how you built the agency, and then when you realized this thing you wanted to spin out as a SaaS product.
Yeah, definitely. So I started the agency when I was 19 and grew it to about between 40 and 50 people, depending on where our demand is. And I just found us creating the same things over and over and over again. So we started hunting for a better way to allow what designers create, which currently today is pixels. How can we make that translate into final products easier? I mean, we've actually, you've had Vlad from Webflow on your podcast.
You've done your research.
Yeah. So we used Webflow in the past and it worked great, but we found that if you want to build apps, things beyond websites, that it became limiting. So our goal was basically to build Squarespace or a Webflow or a Wix or one of those products, but that could actually build enterprise level applications.
And when you say apps, you're talking iPhone apps?
It could be iPhone apps, could be web applications, things that are beyond a simple website, maybe with a login or a database that you can search, that kind of thing.
Okay, good. So we're going to get into that here in a second. Give me a sense of the agency. So you launched it when you were 19. What year was that?
In 2007.
2007. Okay. And you grew up to 40 or 50 people. And what year did you stop the agency to focus on the SaaS?
End of 2019.
Okay, so just last year. Now, was the agency declining when you shut it off last year, or was 2019 your best year at the agency?
It was every year at the agency was actually the best year. So in the 2019, we did over 5 million in revenue, and it was great. My partners actually really wanted to keep it going, so they were able to buy me out, and so kind of everybody won. Which is great.
This is fascinating. Okay, so if you listen to enough episodes, you know that one of the things I say all the time, the most successful SaaS founders almost always come out of an agency. But the struggle from shutting down or getting out of the agency to launching the SaaS product is where most of these die. Great, smart people get stuck in an agency because it's pumping off cash. They never have the risk. They don't have the appetite to launch the SaaS company. So it'd be very valuable to the extent you can to share how you actually business-wise made this work. So there were 3 of you that had the agency. In 2019, you knew you wanted to spin out and start building a SaaS company. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
So what the conversation sound like? Hey, fellas, we're doing 5 million. Buy me out. I mean, how did it work?
Well, so I was draining a lot of our profit into the product. And so right off the bat, I had the most equity. The partner with the second most equity really wanted to keep doing the agency model. And he's like, this thing is an ATM machine. It grows every year. Like, why focus and do something risky? And I think I was burnt out. I was bored. I've been doing it for 12 years. And so there was sort of alignment. He'll take it. He'll keep running the machine. And then I would split off and go buy, for the amount that we've invested, I would buy the product out and we go our separate ways. It did take well over a year. So my advice is you need to find somebody. First off, so let me back this up. I had to hire a COO who could take over for me.
Okay, so you were the COO at the agency.
I was the CEO And while we had people doing most of the things, we didn't have somebody who could basically fill my shoes.
Yep. Yep.
So first thing is you spend all this time making yourself indispensable. Then if you want to do this, you need to make yourself dispensable. You have to do the opposite. So I had to do that for a year, and then convinced my partner that we should go our separate ways, which I did. And then the next thing we had to do is you need to figure out how to make the agency actually worth something. Because if your partners obviously know that you want out, there's no vested interest in paying you what you might think it's worth. So the next thing I had to do was shop it around and find other people who were highly interested and get other offers on the table. Once I was able to get a few offers on the table, that was able to set a price, because agencies are extremely hard to sell.
What were you able to get? I mean, most agencies I've seen sell, it's, you're lucky to get 1x EBITDA. I mean, is that kind of the offers you were seeing?
I actually was able to get right around 1 times revenue.
Wow, that's impressive. So you basically had like a $4 or $5 million offer that you were used to set the valuation of the company.
Yes, but it included the amount that we had invested into the product. And so after selling, then I had to come back with some of that and buy the product back out of it.
I see. And how much had you sunk into building the product at that point?
In total, about 600,000.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Now, this was your baby. I mean, right? You founded the agency when you were, back in 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
I mean, did you own more than 50% of the agency, just yourself?
I did.
Interesting. Okay. So, and just to be clear, there were 3 parties negotiating here, or 2 parties, you and a partner?
Well, it was just me and the partner that owned the second most amount, because between the two of us, we had the majority vote.
Okay. So like how much? Like 70, 80 between the two of you?
Between the two of us, we had about 80%.
Okay, fair enough. Got it. So the third partner, whoever that was, did they just go along with the other partner that's still running the agency?
No, he got bought out as well. So he got dragged along through it. Which
is he with you now on the SaaS product?
No, he's not, but we're still great friends. He was the original partner that's been on since the beginning.
Interesting. Okay. So if you owned more than 50% personally yourself, the second person owned somewhere between kind of 20 and 40-ish%. You had to set the value of the agency. So you went and tried to basically sell it, get offers. You got an offer for somewhere around $5 million, which is impressive, 1x the top line, which means that your partner would have had to come up with something north of $2.5 million to essentially buy you out. How did that work?
Well, without disclosing who the partner is in this, they're a massive, he's a president, CEO of a really massive company already.
I see.
So they basically leveraged that company, bought the agency, and then integrated it into the bigger entity.
I see. Okay, so you essentially got something north of 2.5 million in cash, of which you had to take 600,000 of it to go buy back the code that you wanted to spin out as a SaaS company.
That's correct.
I see. Okay, so through all of this, you essentially net, call it, 1.8-ish million, right? You now have your SaaS company. You have the code, the early product. You put 600 grand into it. Where did you find the people? Did you take engineers from the agency?
No. So I think this is another great thing for people to hear. Whenever I got started on the mission, I decided that at this company, I was only going to find other people who are already on this mission. And everybody that works at Clutch either reached out to us, or they are people that were already working on a similar tool that I convinced to sort of merge in. So the first person that I found was building a product called Relax, and I found his open source repo on GitHub, and it had 10,000 stars or something. It was very popular, and I didn't know where he was. He happened to be in Portugal, and I just said, "Hey, join me. I'll fund this whole thing. Let's do this for real. Why don't you quit your job? I'll cover your salary." And so he came on board, and then he's my co-founder in this entity. And then we had people just reaching out to us. They would see what we're doing, and they would say, "That is such a cool thing. I want to work on it." So we don't have a hiring page on our website at all. Everybody who has joined has had to reach out to me via LinkedIn or something else. And that's what really keeps the team glued together.
This is amazing. Okay, so let's get into Clutch now. Now that we understand how we got to this point. So you're playing in the kind of the no-code space, right? Empower the marketer, the person who doesn't know how to code, to basically build these apps, which saves them developer costs. The UI looks beautiful, by the way. When I'm looking at what you've built compared to Figma, compared to other, even Webflow, these folks, there's the best in class products, and then there's the best in class distribution channels, and the ones that have usually the best channels end up winning over the best products. So, the only thing I would tell you is this thing looks incredible. My prediction is you're going to sell a lot of it if you can find the right way to sell it.
Yeah, distribution's everything.
Yeah,
and that's no doubt. That's one thing that you learn at running an agency is in the early years you constantly say, but we do better. We build better products than Accenture or whatever. I can't believe people pay them all that money. Well, Accenture has billboards at every airport and runs shows and does everything else to where they're top of everybody's mind. They have distribution down. Distribution kills everything else.
Yeah.
And so we focused a lot on that. And being a front end as a service, so you can build your front end in our tool and you can connect it to any back end. We realized that the barrier to entry to using a back end is building a front end. The barrier to entry to using a front end is a back end. So instead of doing what Webflow and Wix and Squarespace did, where they give you both a front end and a back end and then pit themselves against WordPress and Drupal and Shopify, we reached out to the Shopifys, the Drupals, the WordPresses, the Contentfuls of the world. And we said, hey, we just now built the easiest way to build a Shopify store. You can now do it WYSIWYG like you can do with Webflow. And we reached out to Next and Zeit and all these companies, and we have found that all of them are excited to work with us. So we're cutting co-marketing agreements where we will build a Shopify store in 30 minutes.
Yep.
And we'll push it, they'll push it. Build a Contentful website in 30 minutes. And then, so we're planning on doing more of what I'd say is like the Zapier model of sort of being friends with everybody.
Yeah, that's good. Now, just to clear up some of these metrics here, you're no paying customers right now, correct?
So we actually started landing some paying customers already, even though we're not launched. But that was not necessarily the goal, but there's been a lot of people that really wanted it. So we did some early beta, and already one company has said, can we do an enterprise deal?
Okay. But has anyone paid you any money yet?
We've got an agreement in the works, and hopefully we'll get ink next week, but You are correct. No ink yet. That's right.
Fair enough. Okay. And then if I asked you what the launch date was for this company, when did you start writing code for this first at the agency? What year?
End of 2016.
Okay. So between 2016 and 2019, you sunk about $600,000 of agency profits into development salaries to build this thing. You're now have spun it out. You're taking it to market. Do you have any idea what you're going to price it when you do launch a pricing page? You do launch real pricing?
Yeah. So it'll be SaaS. At the low end of this thing, we're looking at $40 a month for the first paid tier, and then $150 a month for a paid tier that comes with enterprise level support and SLAs. And then there will be an enterprise tier, which is where the first customer is coming in, where we actually have engineers on our staff that will help you build interfaces or do other things using the product. Yep. And that's where we found when we were out doing customer discovery, they would all say this tool is phenomenal, but really we have a shortage of front end engineers. And so while the tool sort of helps with that because you need less of them, we still need them at all. And so we said, well, what if we staff that? What if we have front end engineers who will actually utilize this tool and sort of become a part of your team? And so that's going to be that enterprise tier.
That's great. Now, have you? I assume you're probably just using your own $2-ish million that you got from the agency buyout to fund this, right? Or have you raised capital?
I've been funding everything myself.
Yeah.
And I'll probably fund it up through $1 million or so. We need to get some initial metrics, and then after that, we'll go raise funds.
Yep. When do you think you might raise? Do you think it'll be like Q3, Q4?
Yeah, roundabout.
Yeah,
I think so.
Interesting. And do you see a path to bootstrapping this? Could you pre-sell enterprise contracts and bootstrap?
Well, I was skeptical, but our COO, the company who comes from the VC world, she started convincing me, let's try to bootstrap this. They're vultures. They're going to take over the company, that kind of thing. What's
her name?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble.
Come on. I love that, by the way. I'm not going to hit her. I actually love that. You're not going to tell me her name though, huh?
It's Samantha.
Okay,
so
good.
You guys can put the pieces together. You can find her on LinkedIn anyways.
Yeah.
But she said, let's try to bootstrap this. I didn't believe it was possible, but now that we're, each just that one enterprise contract alone extended our runway, a few months. So then she said, if we just do a handful of these, let's bootstrap it. And I'm all about that. I'm not from California. I'm from Houston. I live in Texas. We're more conservative. We don't like to, blow up and raise all these big rounds and all this kind of stuff. So if there is a way to bootstrap this, like what I did with the agency, I would love to do that.
Now, but Samantha is based in California, correct? San Francisco. So is everyone remote?
Yeah, she's in the heart of it all. So if she's the one telling me, hey, let's try bootstrapping this, I think I should take your advice.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I think it's great advice, by the way. Now, is the whole team remote?
Yes. So the rest of the team is, there's another person here with me in Houston. The rest of our team, we built around our CTO out of Portugal. So we actually went ahead and got our own office there. It's fantastic in downtown Porto. And that's where the largest amount of our team is.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Okay, good. So good. So you'll go to market here. And when do you think you'll launch pricing?
So we'll probably be launching a pricing page in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
We have a free tier, which is what everybody will go on. And during our beta, we're allowing a free forever tier, where so long as whatever you build stays open source and everybody else can fork it and clone it, then you can just use the product for free. And it's only whenever you want to start building private projects that you need to determine whether or not you want to pay $40 a month and just it's self-serve, or whether or not you want to pay the $150 and have our whole support team behind you.
And how did you meet Samantha?
She reached out like everybody else.
Really?
She reached out via LinkedIn. Everybody sees it and says, I want to be a part of that team.
But come on, she was working with Jason, I believe, at launch, right? I mean, how did she find you? Did you go to a launch conference or something?
No, I never left Houston. Well, there was no contact ahead of that. She heard about it from one of her friends, and she reached out, messaged me on LinkedIn, and I just replied and said, I'm not looking for, a COO or anybody really right now. We're just keeping our heads down and building the product. And she was persuasive, and so we had a chat, and I was like, all right, let's try this. You're gonna shorten our runway, but if you can do what you say you're gonna do, you'll end up making us profitable. So let's see what happens.
I love that.
So she came on board.
All right. So how many people are full-time right now?
7 in total.
Okay. How many engineers?
Let's see, it'll be 5 engineers.
Okay. So heavy engineering.
Into it. Yeah.
Including you?
No.
Okay. So do you come from an engineering background?
I do. I started writing code whenever I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And then I was a senior engineer at Poetic for most of those years.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, good. So 5 people plus Samantha, no quota carrying sales reps, obviously, because you haven't, you're still getting the sales engine going. And so what does that mean? I mean, so you said you fund this up to $1 million in spend. I mean, what are you're burning like 150 grand a month right now, something like that?
No, I mean, significantly less than that. But I'm not drawing a salary, of course, because I don't need to.
Yep.
But no, we've been able to keep this thing pretty lean, and we're basically trying to get a little bit of market validation out of it. And then at that point, I think our burn is going to go up significantly as we build out our marketing engine.
Yeah. I mean, I respect people that build stuff and are scrappy. So I would love to quantify like how low you've kept burn. Is it like more like 50 grand a month? Are you comfortable sharing?
Yeah, that's let's just say it's in that range.
Okay, so. Very good. All right, let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
0 to 1.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Man, these are all going to be so stereotypical, but Elon.
That's good. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company besides your own?
G Suite.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
6.
Okay. And situation, married, single, kids? 4, right?
Married for 12 years and 4 kids. Got married and started the company in the same year.
That's incredible. Now, when you filled out the thing to come on the show, you were married for 11 years. So did you just recently celebrate an anniversary?
Yes, we did. So
congrats.
It's now been 12.
Very good. All right. And how old are you?
32.
You had to think about that. Last question. Take us home. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
That distribution matters more than anything.
Guys, there you have it. Coming from Matthew Hager, he built a $5 million agency, owned more than 50% of it, then wanted to spin out a piece of the tech. So he sold back more than 50% of his equity to the founders that stayed on and are now continuing to grow the agency. That was a $2.5 million deal. He then had to spend 600 grand to pay back to that company to pull out the SaaS code. He's now using the call at 1.5-ish that he has in cash from that deal to fund up to $1 million this new SaaS business, which really is playing in the kind of the no-code front-end as a service space. Very hot space, based in Houston, remote team, beautiful interface. Rooting for you, man. Thanks for taking us to the top.
Awesome. Thank you.
These CEOs rarely give these kinds of interviews. I hit them hard, I get the data, and I want to do it more. So if you want to get more of this stuff, make sure you subscribe up here. And then additionally, go check out one of my other CEO interviews right now.